Hello and welcome everyone. I am very pleased that today finally we have Edith Utete with us. She's an attorney with 15 years of experience in consulting and spearheading policy and legislative reform in the areas of broadcasting, digitalization, regulation of the radio frequency spectrum, and intellectual property protection for innovation. As co founder of Digital Wellness Africa, Edith is also a digital media use and online safety expert, raising awareness and educating in the areas of digital skills and smartphone productivity, digital citizenship, cybersecurity, digital reputation management, and digital well being. Thank you so much for making time for us today, Edith. And it's a real pleasure to have you on SNMM Talks.
Thank you for the invite. I'm really happy to be here.
Great. So I'll start my conversation, and in my intro, there's a lot of work that you're already doing, and for that, I want to begin with if you can share a bit more about your journey into the legal services industry, and then what motivated you to focus on areas like broadcasting, cyber laws, and intellectual property.
Thank you. It's actually interesting that when I was in school, I didn't have an interest in the law, but my father was very adamant that I should become a lawyer. He thought I had the skills and what it took. And it so happened that at the time that I then went into university, I did not get into the program that I wanted. I did not qualify for the program that I had chosen for myself. And guess where I ended up? In the law faculty. But the thing about me is that I like to always make the best of the situation where I find myself in. So I got into the law and I said to myself, I am going to do the best I can with the situation that I'm in. And eventually I found that I really enjoyed human rights law. I had an opportunity to travel while I was at university to the Netherlands, and I got to experience this thing where the young people that I met, they were talking about this thing called the internet and how it was impacting their lives. And I was so intrigued by it, and I was saying to them, but I wish we had this back home. And they were like, no, you know what? It's great to have more access to information for your research and everything, but it is also quite a lot. Just having all that information, trying to curate things, it is quite a lot. So when I then went back to my home country, Zimbabwe, I was happy to find that our law library had connected us to the internet. We had 2 computers that were connected to the internet. And because I had heard about it, I was one of the first people to jump on to try this thing. And so to cut a long story short, that's where the passion came from. I just found that this was an incredible tool for connecting, for learning, and so much more. Fast forward to a few years later, I then found myself at the Broadcasting Authority of Zimbabwe, where I was the Legal and Corporate Services Director. And one of my responsibilities there was consumer protection and regulation of what our licensees were doing in the broadcasting space. The interesting thing that I found was that as we were progressing towards digitalization, the law was lagging behind in terms of all these innovations and all the developments that were going on. So I started doing more research around what it meant, to have that convergence of technologies, because at that time we had a distinction between broadcasting and telecoms. They were actually 2 separate bodies, and I just felt like with the way the world is going, we need the regulation to be combined. The laws also have to sort of support what's going on. But unfortunately, as usually happens, the law is sometimes just responsive to what's going on. So I started this platform called Digital Age Conversations. This is how Digital Age Conversations came into being in 2014. And my idea was just to get people to start talking about what was happening with the introduction of these new digital platforms, us being more immersed in the digital world and being more connected, and just, all these new gadgets that have these capabilities to connect us, but also to disconnect us. So as I was doing this work, I found that, the children especially were very, very involved in the use of digital media. The educators, not so much. The parents, well, they were also, lagging behind a little bit. But my worry, because of my background in consumer protection and legal policy, was that the children, are they being safeguarded? And I kept looking for some organization or some platform that regulates the internet, and I couldn't find it. And I really got concerned because when I was at the Broadcasting Authority, we had very few channels that we were regulating compared to the amount of content that is on the internet. And yet we struggled to regulate them at times. Some things, we would only find out after it had happened, and then we were now trying to also catch up to fixing things. So I was wondering, how does it work with the internet? What happens when, for example, you're violated, or when someone infringes your copyright or your intellectual property? And this is how the passion then began. I got into the research, joined forces with other people who were also interested in this work, and this is how we find ourselves here, where we are with Digital Wellness Africa. And
That is
still
some journey, yeah. I mean, when you were mentioning that you went to the library and there were those two computers, it's such a nostalgic lane. And I think for people like us who are working in this sphere, but we are still the digital migrants because we were not
yeah.
born with internet, and it's so difficult when I speak to my young nephews and nieces, like, how we've lived a life without internet. It's just like and they're like, they will make faces like, how did things existed by then? So yeah, but that is amazing and incredible journey, Edith. And I wanted to talk more about digital age conversations. I mean, you've already narrated how the idea was seeded and how did it start, but more about, what are the present goals that you have in mind, and what sort of initiatives does digital age conversations have at the moment?
Okay, so the way we started working was we would just go into schools and have conversations with the school kids and also the children in our communities around their digital media use, sort of connecting with them at their level, getting to know what they're doing, how we can also empower them, support them, inform them. But over time, what we've also started doing is getting into the area of the educator. We realized that there's that disconnect. So we have been having professional development programs, workshops, and information dissemination for educators. However, as we are doing this work, we realized also that educators have different ways that they engage with the children. For example, there's a program called Life Skills that schools have. And during Life Skills, they get to talk about life in general and give children these skills around how do you navigate, for example, child abuse issues. So we will tap into what they're doing and complement it with information which is specific to child abuse in the digital space. We then also look at an educator, for example, who teaches something like global perspectives. Global perspectives here, they're getting to know about the world around them, how they fit in, how they can complement what is there. And here we are now giving them skills around how they can be using their tech productively, how they can connect with people from all over the world, how they can also learn digital etiquette, how they can protect their own reputation when they're online. So it goes two ways. We support the student, and then we are supporting educator as well. However, as we are progressing and we're making all these strides, the educators came back and said, you know what, when these children go home, they are going to get access to the internet like 24 hours. They're not supervised. Most of them, when the gadgets were handed to them, there was no conversation around the safety and productive use of that gadget. So we are finding that some of the things that we are doing with them at school, it all gets undone when they go home. So this is where we then roped in the parents. For some schools, we would have programs where we work with the school, and we have workshops or programs that are designed for the parents. With other schools, they have just given us access to the parents and said, do what you would like with them, so we can have events outside the school and ways that we connect with them. We also have a platform where we provide resources for these parents, from templates on digital media agreements for families, to what the Zimbabwean law is in particular, provides in terms of data protection, your privacy laws, and anything related to the cyber world. So we just have that engagement. We also have a WhatsApp platform where we also feed into some of those issues, and we connect on a more intimate level, sharing information around digital parenting, what children are doing online, what the regulatory environment is doing, and all any information that is relevant to digital parents. We have also now kind of morphed into a more inclusive organization, where we are not now just looking at the children, because we realize they're not living in a vacuum. We have people who are connected to our children, who are also stakeholders, people who have an influence over our children. So we have been reaching out throughout our communities through different initiatives, one of which is a campaign called the Digital Wellness Campaign. And our tagline for this one is digital citizenship is everyone's business. What we're basically saying is we all have a role to play in making sure that this digital world is conducive, as safe, is comfortable for our children to thrive, but also for ourselves. We cannot operate in silos where, for example, the educators are teaching something around digital citizenship, the police or law enforcement are doing something else, the lawyers and the courts are doing something else. We all have to come together. And why we got to that point was we realized when something goes wrong, especially for children when they're online, there's a lot of blame shifting that goes on. You get your parents saying, oh, it's the fault of the tech companies. They're the ones who are churning out this content to our children. You also get the tech companies saying, no, we are not the ones who gave your children the device. We are not the ones who forced their hand to get onto the platform. Then you've got your legislators who are saying, well, the law is there. You should be complying with the law. There's just a disconnect that unsettled us. And so we felt, no, we should be doing things the other way around. All of us have to come around this table where we are saying, what is it that I can do as a parent to ensure my child is safe online? What is it that the legislators can do to support my efforts? How can technology companies also support what legislators and parents are doing? When the children go to school, how do the schools support what we're also trying to achieve? The community around us. Here in Africa, we have strong community values where when I was growing up, if I misbehaved on the street and any adult saw me misbehaving, I would get reprimanded for that misbehavior because it was just sort of like a social contract that every child is my child. And even in our organization, this is how we relate to these children. They are all our children. And if we see them misbehaving, we are going to make sure we say something or do something. If we see that they need help, they're struggling, we are also going to do something for them. And this is the kind of thing that we want to spread, where we are saying that each of us, we need each other, and we should all support each other in the digital spaces. We hope to reshape mindsets where we don't have that individualistic approach to these really, really, really important issues. Regulation on its own, I also realized it cannot work on its own, even if we have someone policing someone online.
Yeah.
We also, as users, have to have some kind of self-regulation. So that is another thing that we are working with children and families and our communities around: self-regulation, being upstanders. When you see something happening that is not okay, you have that capacity and responsibility to do something, whether it's to report, whether it's to support, whatever it is that you can do. Let's come together. This is basically one of the major things that we are doing right now, along with reviewing the legislation that is there right now to see just how suitable it is and what else we can do to make it better.
That's amazing, Edith. And I resonate with so much that you've already said about workshops, how we all who are working on the field, we realize that it's just not children, teachers, educators, parents, they all need to be roped in. And the big tech also needs to be made accountable for, specifically child safety online. Completely, agree with everything that you've said. And I think that's a very similar kind of experience that we do here in India. Our organization, Social Media Matters, because we are also a ground level organization who's onto the ground, going to schools and colleges, universities, speaking to the kids, the young users. That's what we've been doing, since I remember I've started the career here in the civil spaces. And that brings me to another question, because I'm very curious to know. I know about the challenges that we face here in India, specifically, when we are initiating these dialogues on online safety and stuff, because at times parents here are worried that no, we don't want kids to get indulged in it. There are so many issues and stuff like that. But then we have to put the message across that, listen, they're already in the space. They are, you don't know, but they have already explored it. So better you have a conversation with them. So I want to know from you that what sort of challenges do you encounter there in educating children, parents, educators, whenever you're talking about internet safety, and how do you overcome them?
When we started in 2014, it was very difficult to get those conversations going, because at that point, a lot of people were just, getting used to it. I think when I left the Broadcasting Authority of Zimbabwe in 2013, and we had just started the digitalization drive. It was a year in or so. Many people had not caught up yet. It was all just so exciting. We want to get onto WhatsApp and Facebook, and no one was really looking at what anyone else was doing. They were busy enjoying themselves. So when you come in and you say, okay, can you slow down a little bit? Let's look at what we're doing. Let's just take a moment to reflect. People didn't like that. They felt like, no, you are trying to kill our vibe. We've got something really exciting going on. Who are you to come in and tell us to stop, to even review what we're doing? And when I would take it further, go to the kids and talk about what they were experiencing, and then report back. The parents, the educators, many of them were not receptive. In fact, some of them said I was a prophetess of doom. And I was just like, no, I have been in regulation before, and I know the impact that some of this content can have. And when I look at the statistics that I had regarding the broadcasting before, when we went analog, I just shuddered to think of what it would mean when it became digital and so easily accessible. And we don't even have, like, when I was growing up, when you wanted to watch TV, you had to wait until 5 p.m. for the television to switch on. If you switched on the television, there was a circle and some really strange sounds there. There was no content until 5 p.m. So we went out and played. We went out and did our chores. We even slept. But now you've got a child who has access all the time. Like, they don't even have time to switch off, and this concerns me. So the people are not receptive. Also, because many of us grew up without certain resources, and now we can afford to give our children certain things. It also felt like we were judging the parenting styles, or we were trying to impose our beliefs and our parenting approaches to the parents. So it was really difficult to get those conversations going, to get people to buy in. Even with the schools, I remember I don't remember which year it was, but we had attended a summit that was hosted in the US, and we saw that our counterparts, they had, all these programs for edtech. And I was like, I want to introduce this to my home country as well. But when we tried to do that, we were shunned. We were told, no, you want to add more to what teachers already have so much on their plate. No, we can't. Even when we tried to introduce the digital citizenship curriculum, they were not receptive at all levels. So eventually we would just work with those people that wanted to work with us. Fortunately, there were one or two schools, one or two families, a few churches, a few organizations that wanted to work with us. And we worked with them. But however, when 2020 came along, things shifted, because COVID then made people realize again that this is what she was talking about. And then now the name Prophetess of Doom shifted, and people were like, you were a futurist, you're a prophet. You knew these things would happen. And I said, no, I didn't know. But because of just, what I thought was common sense, I thought this is going to be a problem for us at some point. And because I'm also in risk management in some places, I was just trying to mitigate risk, also to balance it out. There's always, in everything, we have to look at the pros and the cons and see the benefits and the risks. That's what I was just trying to do. So, yeah, there was a lot of resistance. However, it has shifted over time, partly thanks to the online schooling and the challenges that came with that, partly also to people working in digital spaces and realizing that now they are so easily accessible to their clients, to their bosses, to their colleagues, and they don't have a break from work anymore, even when they are on leave, even when they're sick or if they're on holiday, people will still have access to them. So now we'll have people even coming to ask us to assist them with their policies in the workplace, their digital media use policies at the schools, the home. They also want help with that. So yeah, I think we're making progress. I'm happy to report that there has been a shift, and it's a good one.
I'm very happy to hear that. And that's very interesting. What saint has arrived? They already knew what's going to happen when internet is going out there. But that's pretty interesting to note there. Um, Edith, I have another question which is very specific, and this also comes from my own experience and my CEO Pratishtha. Because at times when women in tech are involved, many a times we also face resistance in many spheres and contexts. And I want to know from you that how do you see the role of women in technology evolving in Zimbabwe and across Africa in the maybe in the next coming decade?
When I started working in tech, I was really shocked at how few women there were. I was at one point working with Women in Tech Africa, and I was the chapter lead for Zimbabwe. So one of the responsibilities that we had was um, to find women who are interested, women and girls who are interested in tech, and support them in tech education and tech careers. But what I found was not necessarily, in my mind, I thought they're not being given an opportunity. Maybe there's some kind of bias against women. But I found that some of the resistance came from the women themselves. I remember we wanted to host a Women in Tech week. So the idea was to have a week of events that support women with information, empowerment sessions, support around how you can get into the industry. If you're already in the industry, how you can also upskill yourself and get to higher levels in your organization. The uptake was very poor. The interest was also very poor. It was a struggle to even get speakers from the women who were in the tech space at that time. Um, and that saddened me because in as much as there are all these calls for more women to come into the tech industry, there were women who were shunning the industry themselves. Some of them felt that it was too male dominated. Some of them felt like they did not meet the standards in terms of their intellectual capacity, that it was too hard, that it would expose them, their limitations and so forth. And then there were those who were in the tech space who didn't want to be spotlighted. They wanted to just keep their heads down and do their work. And even when we said we would like you to mentor other women, would like you to encourage young girls to give them information about what you do, even to share your challenges, your highlights. Some women did not want that. In fact, it was a lot of the women that we approached who did not want to participate. But over time, I've seen not only in Zimbabwe, but also the rest of Africa, that there's been a greater uptake. There are more women involved in the tech space. And what I've loved about it, when I look at my own experience, is that women who are not traditionally women in STEM, like I was an art subject student all the way from primary school through high school and university. But here I was, you know, finding my way, finding a place in the tech space. And this is a story that I always share with young girls, that no matter what your background is you have a place in tech, because now the way the digital spaces have opened up, with your accounting background, you have a place there. With your legal background, you have a place. With your social sciences skills, if you're a person who's in human resources, you love people, there is a space for everybody there. You don't have to be highly technical. You don't even have to have a tech qualification for you to get in. But you need to explore the opportunities that are there, and just see how you can fit in. So I think for women, there is so much potential. There is so much that they can tap into. And I'm really excited for them now with artificial intelligence, with virtual reality, all these emerging technologies that are coming up. There's just so much that we can all benefit from being part of the tech space. And you can also, even if you're in academia, you can also make contributions into tech. And as a user, I also say to the girls that I work with, the fact that you're even using technology makes you a woman in tech, I think. Um, and you can actually complement the further developing of products and services. You have, because you are actually using these services, you can actually say something. You can just be an advocate for something around the tech space. So getting into the industry has become so much easier, no matter what your background is. And it's just a matter of finding your place and being comfortable with it. I think the systems are in place, the policies are there. There are women worldwide that we can also turn to. If in our immediate environment we don't have any mentors or people that we can find to support our journey, it's a matter of just going onto the internet and finding other women all over the world and tap into that community and find your people who will support you so you can, make it. I think it's actually very exciting.
No, I think women who've been looking up to leaders and experts like you, I think that also makes a lot of difference. Like when they see, oh, she's doing a lot of work there, and that I think really encourages them, gives them a way. You have had a lot of hardships to find your way in tech, and you've carved your own path. But I think that the struggle of yours will really be giving a lot of ideas and thoughts for other girls and women who are trying to find ways and enter the tech part. So I think kudos to you, to your struggles and the journey and the path that you've carved out. Very, very impressed by it, Edith. And now, my last question to you, but very important that you share with us. What's the vision that you have in mind? What's the work in future, that you're planning out, or any particular upcoming projects that you're pretty excited about at the moment?
Well, I've got so much that I'm really excited about. But one thing that I've just started is a podcast called Confessions of a Digital Parent. And Confessions of a Digital Parent is just about me sharing my experiences as a parent of 4 children. I have 4 children who are ages 20, 25, 20, 18, and 7. And so having children who have these different experiences with digital media has been a challenge for me as well, and I'm just there to share my experiences, the things that have worked for me, the things that I found haven't worked, and as we go along, invite other parents to also share their experiences. I think we need to demystify this thing called digital parenting for our community. Parenting is something that is, very contained. Like, people don't really want to talk about their parenting experiences. And yet I found in the digital world, we need to talk about these things. We also need to empower each other. Sometimes the solution you're seeking is with another parent that is right nearby. So this is something that I'm doing, Confessions of a Digital Parent podcast. Just launched it last week or the week before. And yeah, I'm really excited to see where that goes. We are also going to be doing more with our campaign on the digital citizenship is everyone's business. So there are many facets to it, a lot of programs that we have in store for different stakeholders, from journalists to legislators, legal practitioners, law enforcers. There's just so much, and I'm really excited that the work has begun. So this is something that we see spreading to other parts of Africa as well. We've connected with some of our colleagues who are in this space here in Africa, and we'll be joining forces on that, because again, it's not just about Zimbabwe, it's not just about Africa. This is a global issue that we all need to come together. Another thing that we're also excited about is our digital intelligence framework that we are rolling out to schools. It's a little bit of a revamped version of what we have been doing, but now also incorporating emerging technologies and the new things that are coming up in terms of the curriculum. So we've got partners that we're also working with around that. And our organization is part of an exhibition that is called Texpo. We've been involved in Texpo from last year, but it has been growing in leaps and bounds. So we are really focusing more on spreading our wings in our communities. We're hoping to also partner with one of the local universities. I can't speak much about that because it's still under discussion, but I'm so excited. I can't not talk about it. We'll be hopefully partnering with a local university around things to do with intellectual property protection, child online safety, digital wellness, and lastly, around digital wellness, we are going to be running more of our digital wellness campaigns through what we call digital wellness clinics. These ones will be setting up in different communities and just getting to share how people can have a better relationship with their technology, the tools that can assist them to thrive in the digital world, whether it's the digital tools or offline methods. We will be doing this rollout of digital wellness clinics. We had started in the schools, but now we are rolling them out in our communities. And linked to that, we are going to be working through our Digital Wellness Trust. We have more work that we are doing with our underserved communities, the rural community, the communities that don't have access to the internet, those who don't have access to devices. We have partners that we're linking up with also to provide connectivity, but also to empower them. Our role is going to continue to be to empower them with digital skills, how they can use the computers, just even from the basic switching on and off of a computer. There's some people who still don't have those skills, and we are working with them from all ages, actually. And so, these are some of the exciting projects that we are working on right now.
These are amazing. I'm very excited about the podcast and also the digital well-being clinics. That's an amazing, amazing initiative. And I really look forward that we meet in person very soon, because I resonate with so much stuff that you've said, you've mentioned in the work that you're doing. So, and I am a real believer of meeting in person, having long conversations. So you are one of them that I would really like to meet in person sometime very soon, Edith. So let's make that happen. Either you call us to Zimbabwe or wherever you are, whenever we get the invitation, or we invite you to India. But we should definitely catch up very soon. And that's amazing and incredible work that you're doing. All our best wishes to you and the whole team. And I am really hopeful that with people like you, experts and leaders like you, we are moving towards a better space where internet is being used, and children and youth and teens, they have better experiences over digital spaces. That will definitely happen one day. So thank you for all your time, for all of the knowledge that you've shared with us about your work, about your initiatives. That's amazing and incredible work, Edith. Thank you so much for today.
Thank you so much for having me. I look forward to also meeting in person and to working together. In fact, you are now part of our Digital Citizenship is Everyone's Business campaign. So thank you very much for having me.
Thank you so much. Bye bye. Take care.
You too. Bye.